today at Into Moto, I'm taking out Voge's DS900X. I've been waiting for this bike for months and months and months. As soon as I heard it was coming, I've been excited. You've already seen me walk around video. This fully loaded machine is £8,999 plus the on the road. So it's not cheap, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper than anything that you would ever compare it to. Even looking at the other, I suppose, cheaper adventure bikes, this is still thousands of pounds cheaper than those. I'm not going to go around this bike again with all the specs. If you haven't seen that video, go and have a look at that first so you can see all of the tech and everything that this bike's got. Today's the ride review. How does it ride? Let's find out. Come on. The moment I've been waiting for. This is the Black Knight. It proudly says the Black Knight at the side of it. It's got this nice black paint job. It's got like a gold flake in it. You can see like sparkly gold bits. Does look rather nice. Anyway, I don't want to put it off. I want to just get riding this big beast. Privileged moment. Let's start it up. Oh, hello. The Black Knight is moving. These bikes are brand new to the market, as you know, in the UK. So the official launch day is the 21st of September 2024. Now the bikes themselves, they've been in the UK for a couple of weeks prior to that date. So there are a few lucky owners that have already taken delivery before the UK's official release date. So those guys who got in nice and early, well, they've pulled a blinder, haven't they? They've got them before a lot of the YouTubers have got their hands on them. I want to do all different types of roads on it, but importantly, what I want to test is its ability to tour. And by that, I mean just all different types of roads, including a bit of a stint on the motorway. And I want to do that because that's what these bikes are going to be used for. And I do believe that these bikes are going to be used predominantly by people who want to go and do some touring. It's why they come with all the free luggage. It's why they have all of the extra gadgets on to make life a little bit easier for you. Heated seats, heated grips, all that. You've seen my spec review of the bike, so you know it's got a hell of a lot of kit on it. Is it any good, first and foremost? And I've got to say, initial impressions, just getting the wheels moving, it's a really comfortable position to be sat in. My back is nice and upright. It's just a typical position really that you get with a lot of adventure bikes. Now this is the equivalent of the 850 GS. And yeah, I think it has that kind of same feel to it. The TFT on the BMW it's just another level. However, this isn't that far off it. It's really clear. You can see I've got loads of blue sky today. Well, for now I have. It'll probably be raining shortly. But I've got loads of blue sky. It's nice and bright. The screen is getting loads of sun right on it. And it's not affecting the view at all. The sign of a nice TFT screen, because the cheaper ones, they do tend to disappear when the sun hits them, and it's just not the case with this one. These mirrors are not only like quite stylish, they kind of look like I don't know, the mirrors. I can't flower it up more than that. They look like mirrors. Yeah, you can see they've styled them a little bit, but the important thing for me is how practical they are. And looking at those mirrors, you can see everything behind you. Yeah, they're good. Blind spot detection triangle. I like that. I like that. That's a really nice touch. Now, I mentioned on the walk round about the blind spot detection on these and having this little triangle there, but it's a nice subtle orange light. I've been on a couple of the Ducatis. I think the Multistrada was one, and it seemed to light up like an indicator. It was really, really bright. For me, I think that's too much. Well, it could potentially confuse people. Think if you're behind it as a car and you see an orange light coming from somebody's wing mirror, it's quite easy to presume that it's an indicator of some type, and I think that might get people. Whereas on this, it looks very similar to a lot of systems that people have on the cars with just a little triangle, so it's a nice touch. I like it. Try a little bit of filtering. Very easy to ride at slow speed. Oh, it's a windy day today. Let's try the motorway. Let's see what it's going to be like at those motorway speeds. Wow. Oh, this wind's horrible. Okay, so I've just given it a blast down the motorway for a couple of junctions, and I've got to say, that is impressive. It's really, really, as you would expect it from a 900, but it's really easy to ride on the motorway. And by that I mean it's an horrible windy day today, and I've just rocketed up to 70 mile an hour very, very quickly. But from 70 mile an hour, it was just perfectly in a straight line. It didn't seem to be blowing around. I mean, I felt the wind, don't get me wrong. It's a windy day, so you're going to. But the bike itself just stayed in a nice planted straight line. You weren't blowing all over the lanes, so I'm a big fan of that. I've been on a couple of big bikes that do suffer a lot when crosswinds and whatnot come, and this just didn't. It was lovely. I have heard people talk about the quick shifter and basically saying it's a little bit clunky. I've not found that. It's as good as the BMW system, because it probably, I'm pretty much certain it is the BMW system. However, you know, that's what you've got to remember with this bike. This bike is pretty much the same. It's going to have the same characteristics as it, and yeah, the quick shifter's just one of them. It can be a little bit clunky at times depending how you're riding it, but if you're riding it quickly, then no, the gear changes are quite nice. They're beautiful. In fact, it just goes through the gears really, really nicely. The high beam is quite frustrating, because when you are looking for your buttons down there, or just, you can see every time you put your clutch in or you come off your clutch, just the slightest little flick, you're catching it. I know it's something that you get used to. I'm going to try this heated seat. So you put the heated seat on, and you can see it's got 3 settings, 1, 2 and 3. So let's put it on 3, and next to it the heated grips are on 3 as well. So I'm going to see, are they any good? Do they warm up my happy place? Heated grips, yeah, that for me, the best accessory you can buy if you're an all year round rider. It is, because there is nothing worse than your hands feeling cold when you know you've still got a few hours riding to go. And I've got to say, these grips have warmed up really, really quickly. I'm feeling nice and toasty in my hands already. I've never really been on a ride where I've thought, oh, my poor bum's cold. Yeah, I've never actually done that. Where I have suffered in the early years of riding, I have suffered with horrendous cold hands where your fingers start going numb, and it's painful. It is, and that's why heated grips for me are the best. Whereas a heated seat, I think, could only lead to a sweaty bum. It's not an essential for me. It's a nice extra, and obviously today the difference is today, it's not particularly cold, so if it was freezing, I might appreciate a warm bum a little bit more. But in a day like today, where it's about 12 degrees, it's nippy, but it's not freezing. Yeah, it's just giving me a bit of a sweaty bum. So I'm going to turn that seat off. Yeah, it works, it gets you warm, but on a day like today, yeah, you don't need it. I need to get a photograph here, I think. Definitely suits this backdrop. This bike is ready to tour the world. Well, in fact, this one's not, because I've not got all the luggage on it. These bikes, they're adventure bikes, aren't they? Now, I know it's not got the knobblies on and stuff, but it's an adventure bike, and it should be fine for some gravel tracks like we've got here, or farm tracks, you might call this one. It'd be rude not to have a little go. I'm not going to get it dirty, promise. Now, I've done this track on my Voge Rally, and I've done this track on my old V-Strom, and I've done this track on quite a few adventure bikes and off-road bikes, and it's not particularly taxing. No, it's not. There's a couple of ruts and puddles and gravel and stuff, but it's not a hardcore off-road thing. But I think that's what these bikes are for. These bikes, these bikes are made to do stuff like this. They're not made for hardcore off-roading. I know you'll see some people hardcore off-roading them in promotional videos, and they'll be doing jumps and all sorts. Well, I'm sorry to say I'm not that good, and I would say I'm probably average as far as riding goes. I would bet most of the people who buy these types of bikes are exactly the same. I don't think you would buy this bike to go and do a full off-road course. I think the bike would be capable of it if your skill level was high enough. Mine personally, I prefer a lighter bike. I prefer the 300 Rally if I'm doing stuff more off-road than this. I do. I prefer a lighter bike for it. It's a nice bike to ride. It's a nice bike to do this type of road. Yeah, like I found myself on the V-Strom when I went over to France. There was a couple of lanes like this that we went on, and the bike performed really well, and this is doing exactly the same. I am noticing at second gear it does feel like it doesn't want to be in second gear at these low speeds, so you do have to pick the speed up a little bit for it to sound a little bit happier. I'm sure the majority will just keep them on the road. I would say, however, if you have got an adventure bike, just to do something like this, it does actually show you just how the bikes can cope, and they can cope really easily with stuff like this. They do it with ease, and this bike's just done it with ease. Speed bumps, that's one thing with this, the comfort, the suspension over these speed bumps, it's a pleasure. I mean, it's weird because any bike I've ever been on, you go over a speed bump, they're always a pain, they're not particularly comfortable, but with this, you just kind of waft up them and down them, and you can feel the suspension bouncing a little bit, but it just takes all of that bounce, it just makes it like a really soft pillow for your backside. I am amazed at these bikes, you know, I really am amazed at the quality you get for the price. Power wise, I don't think you'd ever need or want any more. The extra power is just needed on the motorway. There really is not anything on this bike. In fact, no, there is. There's that high beam button. That's the only thing on this bike I'm finding a bit frustrating, and I know that I'll get used to that. You just got to be mindful of it, but it has been quite frustrating today. I reckon it's got to have been hit 20 times while I've been riding. Yeah, crazy. However, everything else about this bike, the weight, the way it rides, the performance, the gear shifting, the gadgets, the accessories, it's impressive across the board. It is. It just has everything that I need. And oh, just hit that bloody high beam again. That's annoying. But everything else, it's so good. I've been on a couple of bikes recently from Moto that I've not wanted to take back, and this has got to be my favourite of that bunch so far. It's got everything that you need, it's got everything that you want and more. A lot of the gadgets and stuff on here you probably would never ever use. And bear in mind as well today, I have been sensible. Whilst I have opened it up a little bit, I haven't even put it in sport mode. That's another thing, you know, in sport mode it's going to be even quicker. Let me just say that again, it's going to be even quicker. I've just had it in road mode. Now granted, the roads are fairly wet and I don't want to kind of end up on my backside, but the roads are wet. It's got potential to pee it down. I'm not being overly silly. I've given it a good taste of the motorway. I've got to those motorway speeds and it's done it with absolutely no messing, no mither, just absolutely beautifully. Absolutely beautifully. This bike, I don't want to give him the key fob back, but I have to. I hope this has given you a bit of an insight into this bike and how it rides and everything. I really hope that if you're looking for a mid-size to a big adventure bike, you come and try one of these, because they really are that good. It is an amazing machine, and I'm gonna have to just leave it there. Oh, what a beast. Guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Laters.